This just makes it easy for me to editing videos. Okay, Webster 2. And again, I'm going to go over these pretty quickly. I assume you've read these, guys. I assume you're actually reading, okay? Retain goal alignment. I mentioned the problems we had with the engineering team. Rick solved the immediate bleeding. And I don't know where I came up with this idea from. I'd like to say I thought of it. It may have been something I read. But I did an engineering team offsite. And it was at a nice setting. We're in San Diego, so there's lots of nice settings. It was at some sort of, I don't want to say resort, but someplace really nice. Nice outdoor patio, had a big whiteboard and everything else. And I went through around the group and had every engineer state what she or he wanted out of, why they were pages. What do you hope to achieve? What are your goals? Personal and professional. And we wrote them all down. And having established that, why they were there, we said, what goals can we put together as a team that will help everyone on the team meet their goals? And we went out, we discussed that for a couple hours, and it was great. We came up with a great set of goals, and frankly, that was a major turning point for the whole development team. At that point, we all knew why each other was there, and we all knew what we were trying to accomplish as a team in order to meet everyone's goals. And then, and I didn't tell the CEO this, then we said, okay, what can we do to make our team goals look good to the CEO? And to me, because I said, you know, we have to make pages survive. We have to ship product. We have to do stuff. We can't just have team goals and say, yeah, this is cool until the money runs out. Though eventually the money did run out. And then we talked about how to shape our team goals to support company goals. So we now have this traceability. Went from personal goals, here are the goals that I want to accomplish. Here's what we're working together as a team which meet my goals. Here are these team goals which meet the company goals. Perhaps the single proudest professional accomplishment is that we had no engineers after that point voluntarily leave. In fact, we never had any engineers voluntarily leave in the 5 years of pages. Despite the long hours, despite all the issues and so on, we had 0 voluntary turnover. We had 1 engineer I hired very early days and fired after a month because it was clear he was not a good hire, and then I had to rethink my hiring process. We had another engineer who was very bright, produced a lot, but developed some really significant emotional issues which became very destructive to the team. And it was, we spent a long time saying, you know, he's doing good on this, but you know, this is just, he's harsh and critical towards all the team members. He's very negative. He's this, and finally he got fired. And then 4 years in, when we discovered there weren't nearly as many next step installed systems as we had hoped there would be when we shipped, we did a reduction in force, and 2 of the engineers were laid off. Other than that, we had 0 turnover in 5 years, and 10 engineers with long hours, and you know, it's not that they weren't getting massages, and they didn't get company cars, and salaries were good, but they weren't outrageous. The problem here is, as we've talked about it, for management tends to see that engineers are interchangeable and subject to simple motivations, and hence my "don't they realize they're dealing with grown-ups" comment. And the truth is, sometimes upper management doesn't realize they're dealing not only with grown-ups, very smart grown-ups. Politics. I make a comment in Pitfalls of Object-Oriented Development that because developers often detach themselves from politics within the company, management and non-technical types see them as naive, as opposed to what we really are, which is mostly indifferent. It's like, yeah, we don't care about that stuff. You guys can go play in your sandbox. And often that is to their disadvantage because when they decide to try and get political with you, you're often far better at politics than they are. Keep that in mind. Conway's Law. Conway's Law was mentioned in Mythical Man Month. The architecture of a system under development reflects the communication structure of the team developing it. When I reviewed that $500 million project at Fannie Mae, this is what kept coming to mind as I was trying to figure out the organization of the team developing it, because it was literally divided up across multiple divisions, multiple groups within a division, and this is the reason why they had spent 4 years and $500 million and had no code in production. There was no conceptual unity, there was no chief architect. It was sort of a free-for-all that was all under the same project name, and no one was getting anything done. And by the way, I did notice that. You guys were great. Your org charts largely reflected your anticipated architecture. That's a best practice. Using a maintenance architect, I like to talk about this a lot. I'd say go read the article. When we read Robert Glass, Facts and Fallacies, one of the things he talks about is that the greatest amount of, and this is obvious when you sort of think about it, but the greatest amount of a piece of software's life cycle is spent in maintenance. It's put into production or it's shipped. Then after that, you're either adding features or fixing bugs. And studies show that it's actually about 2/3 adding features and 1/3 fixing bugs. Organizations will tend to have a lot of legacy systems, but they won't necessarily have anyone who understands them. And so things tend to get worse and worse. So this is a suggestion I made as far as an architecture training, what that's worth. Negotiations and Love Songs, again, read it. It's a very short piece. Done it, not really tongue-in-cheek, but just at a very high level. Kind of like within a corporate setting, you have 3 groups. You have management, the engineers, and the end users. And they can't even agree on what game they're playing together. Their priorities and their interests are very different for each of them. And so be aware, and this is also important when you end up either as a vendor trying to sell a technical product into an organization or as a consultant trying to work with an organization. These are the 3 groups you all have to deal with. Whatever you're selling, you have to make sure management, which controls the purse strings, is happy with you, that the internal IT group, if that's just information systems management or actual developers, that they buy off, because the last thing they want you to do is bring your new technology in unless they feel it gives them an advantage. Otherwise, it's just one more thing for them to support. And then the end users who always want something which is better but works just the same. I've heard that literal phrase multiple times in different settings. We want the new system to be just like the old system but better. You know, there's an inherent logical disconnect here. I've seen projects fail literally because of that. That's it. Do you have any questions before I dismiss you for the week? Requirements document, do your billable hours, get your stuff done. Keep in mind, again, the class is front-loaded. The drive is between now and the midterm, and once you get the midterm, it's a breeze. There's almost no demands on you after that, except for, of course, trying to make progress. Thanks.